Welcome to my 8th video. Today we'll be exploring more of the um, alien concepts that were channeled to me over the decades concerning space and the vortex. And please consider everything that I've channeled as conjecture and theory. Take what you like and leave the rest. If it makes sense to you. If it doesn't, ignore it. My experiences are a subjective experience. Therefore, I'm the only one that can say for certain what I've experienced is true or not. So here we go. That was kind of like a disclaimer there. To understand this segment, you may have reviewed the other videos, or you may need to now. This will help explain a little bit more of their concepts. Okay, so first the definitions of eternity. Eternity can be seen as a wheel, a circle, a sphere, infinite-like sphere, a containment. The infinite can be seen as more of a line, more of a endless line. And the quantum can be seen as a singularity, an infinitesimal of depth and volume. And here we see eternity in the scope of a vortex. The vortex is very useful in helping to explain these philosophies, these understandings of space and time. All right, so eternity is within the vortex, and the vortex stretches space. Space is stretched from curve by curve A and curve B. The eternity is here divided infinitely by the infinitesimal. So the infinitesimal divides infinity into folds of infinity. It folds. It does this as it gets closer and closer to the nexus point. This total accumulation within the vortex is CSI, collective spatial intelligence. The intelligence becomes as a singularity at a singularity point where light is squeezed from the quantum foam. When energy reaches the nexus point, this is where light is formed when the quantum foam has been condensed. This forms also the radiation. This is going to lead into the next illustration, the next diagram. So here again we have the first curvature and the second curvature, which can be seen in allegory as the two sides of a vortex. And now we move more into this illustration, and we see that the vortex is created when space is stretched. The stretching of space is primary to the understanding of these philosophies. That should be considered to be spatial and spatial reasoning. This is allegorical of crop circle vortex. The crop circles are components of perpetual motion machines that draw up levity from the quantum realms. So here we have the allegory of the wave condensing into particles Again, we have the multifolding infinity, which is again described as eternity being divided infinitely by the infinitesimal as it again enters the state of the nexus point. Space, therefore, as it is here, eternity is convexed and condensed into matter, energy. Eternity divided infinity by the infinitesimal, and the infinitesimal is the stretching of space into time. So the dimension of time develops from the stretching of space. Now, in a paradox, in a reverse way of thinking, the stretching of space is the condensation of space into a singularity. All points in space and time are a singularity point. So now we can see this is allegorical of the crop circles, the units of the spaceships that create levity. The crop circle divides light into many dimensions of the infinitesimal, creating a prism of patterns expanding from the center. This is somatics. Many people are familiar with that. And this, of course, the prism scattering of light in the quantum realm is the gathering of quantum fields, and this process can be very, very complex. As the crop circles indicate, they become more and more geometric in very complex patterns. Okay, so light is created when quantum foam is squeezed into the nexus of the vortex. So all of this is based on what I explained as a collective spatial intelligence. That is what draws everything together, what glues everything together, what combines everything together is the two curvatures of space-time, as well as the polarity and duality of spatial intelligence. So we can think of this intelligence as spirit. We could think of it as spiritual, ghosts, entities, the soul, whatever you would like. But the spatial is very powerful, as we now know in science, with vacuum fluctuations of the quantum level, what they call 0 points, where the wave particle completely stops into a non-motion element. This non-motion, this 0 point is actually reached. Science doesn't believe it is reached. Comes close, but doesn't get to exact zero, but I believe it does. And so this intelligence, the spatial forces, continue with the creation of intelligent beings, as we see here, the cellular divisional forces of mitosis, and the polarities and dualities found throughout all of that process, and the process of thought and thinking. The receptor is perfectly formed. It forms itself perfectly to envelop the neurotransmitter even before the neurotransmitter has reached the receptor. So it's spatial reasoning at, I guess you could say, a spiritual level. It's almost like an intuitive uh, creational moment. The DNA replication again replicates uh, what I've been saying, where we have the space and the uh, collective spatial intelligence again organizing random patterns into collective life. So we now move into this part, which continues to explain how what science is seeing more and more of, and what it explains as a allegory. At the center, we have the marble in the middle of a football field. That is the nucleus of an atom in allegory, and the outer rim, where the stands are, is pretty much the distance of the shell field of the atom. This is just in comparison to sizes. In between is what they call empty space. It could be called dark matter, dark energy. This marble can be seen stretching downward with weight and force downward. And therefore it is stretching space as it moves down the cone of the vortex. This would again be the outer rims of the vortex. And here again the shell here would be stretching outward. So you have the two forces, one going inward and within, and the other going without, outwardly. Again, exposing more of the dark energy and dark matter. This is a concept of stretching space. Now, when the space is stretched at the quantum level, during what they call the harvesting of the levity fields of the quantum, the superstrings and quantum entanglement can and will appear. It's like a veil has been lifted, and underneath that veil is the superstrings and the entanglement. All right. So that's just another quick showcase of spatial dynamics. As it was shown to me, I'll get further into these concepts as we keep going. This is video 8, but still the beginning. But basically the spatial is a singularity force, and it permeates everywhere in space-time. It is everything. Every place in space is all of space. And this collective energy builds life. It creates life. It's a life force creation. You can call it God, you can call it spirit, you can call it whatever you wish. But I'm told that the alien extraterrestrial beings more or less prefer to call it the creator of all. But this creation is a science that God likes to use science as his way of creation. So there we have it. The vortex is seen stretching space. This will be useful in understanding the even more templates that I have to show and demonstrate for you. All right, so you can read all of this and study it as you wish, and come to see it as in the light of a vortex, in understanding. that space is very much the most powerful force in all of the universe, and science is just discovering that more and more as time goes on. All right, so thank you very much, and I'll see you at the next video.